outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. My name is Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and today a very exciting guest, very timely guest, Mr. Craig Unger of the Redbirds and 901 FC. He is the man for both of those organizations. So if you like baseball or like soccer in Memphis, he is the guy in charge. Craig, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Craig, are you originally from Memphis?
I am not. I am from the St. Louis area. I grew up in this real small town, a little farm town, about 30 minutes south of St. Louis, and lived there my whole life until moving here about 9-10 years ago.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Webster University in St. Louis. It's a small little liberal arts school. I've sort of somewhat of an unusual path to get to where I am here. People ask, what was your major? My major was in audio production. Ironically, I ended up in Memphis, where I wanted to record. I wanted to go into recording studios. I wanted to run live sound for bands. I love events. Again, that's how I got to where I am, right? But I love events. I love concerts. I love music in general. And strangely enough, one of my instructors in college was Bill Porter, who was one of Elvis's sound engineers. So that was sort of this sort of weird connection, but it was a weird path to sort of get into the sports business, when I wanted to really sort of be in the music industry. Right.
But it's all events and entertainment at the end of the day, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think, when you get into, those events, and it's the thing that I really like about, what I do here is it's the live event business. It's the fun of throwing giant parties and entertaining people, being around an event, a sport, a concert, whatever it is, where it brings people joy and fun and happiness. And we talk about this all the time on the baseball side. Soccer's a little bit different, where our wins and losses matter a little bit different, or matter a little bit more. On the baseball side, we're in the player development business, and our players, if they're good for the Redbirds, they don't stick around for long. So, what you won't see a lot of times in our marketing and in our advertisements and the things that we're doing is a lot of player promotion. We don't have the ability to promote a Ja Morant, because that player is going to go to St. Louis and they're going to be gone if they're really good. So what our thing is about, what we market in the baseball side, is the fan experience. It's about fireworks on Saturday nights. It's about dollar hot dogs. It's about $2 beer nights. It's about bobbleheads. It's about all the other things that go with it. And our measure of success on the baseball side is when people leave and, they got a smile on their face, it's win or lose. They go to work on Monday and say, hey, what did you do this weekend? Like, oh, we went to the Redbirds game. And people go, did they win? They're like, I don't know, but we sure had a good time. That's success to us, is that wins and losses don't matter, that you walk away with a great experience. And that to me is really what, I think going through, what I did with other events and that's what sort of got me into live sound and into the sound business, was sort of that entertainment business. So it's all related. It all comes sort of full circle in it, but it's, just a different path.
What, as general manager of the Redbirds, what are your, how does that different from being general manager of, say, the Cardinals, in terms of your outlook? I suspect it has a lot to do with what you just talked about, the business of the experience for the fans, as opposed to trying to build a team.
Yeah, I think that the worst job title in all of professional sports is a minor league general manager, because people think you're something, but you're not. We've been using more for me, as more of the president title here, because, I am the last. So, when you think about a general manager, whether, it's a general manager of the Grizzlies, the Cardinals, whatever sport it may be, they're thinking about the person who's signing players and trading players and, doing all the things around the sport. I am the last person in the building to know if a player gets called up to St. Louis. The St. Louis Cardinals do not care what my opinion is of the right fielder, of the starting pitcher, of anything else. Like, that is not my lane. I stay out of that lane 100%. My job is to run the business operations, and that's the one thing sort of different in there. Now, on the soccer side, look, I'm not a soccer guy. I don't fancy myself to be a soccer expert. I can watch a player and go, he's a good player, but we leave that to the experts there, as well. So I'm president of both organizations, seeing it from a business high level standpoint. Soccer, I'll be involved in a decision from a financial standpoint, is what contract we're giving to a player. Does it fit within our budgets? Does it fit within the things that we have to deal with in terms of managing our roster and stuff? But in the end, it's Tim Howard and Caleb Patterson-Sewell, who just joined us this year, and our coach Ben Pierman, leaving it to them to decide, the players that they want. It's my job to then just make sure that fits into our bigger picture with what we want to be as an organization. So maybe a little bit more on that side, but on the baseball side, I am not involved. My job is putting butts in seats and making sure people have hot dogs and cold beers and that they're having a great time.
Well, when is opening day for the Memphis Redbirds?
Opening day for us is right around the corner. So we open up on April 5th. That's our opening homestand, and we're at home Tuesday through Sunday, and it's baseball season will be full on.
Well, I was in St. Louis the day they announced the end of the lockout, and there were some happy folks in St. Louis. Not just fans, but lots of bar owners and restaurateurs and hoteliers and that sort of thing. I mean, baseball is big business even in Memphis for everybody around the stadium, right?
Yeah, I think that sort of the financial impact of what sports brings to a city, just in general, is cannot be overlooked. You look at St. Louis, and I spent 5-6 years in the Cardinals front office, and obviously around the Cardinals as a fan, for a long time. There is no bigger day in St. Louis any day. Like, it's bigger than Christmas, it's bigger than Easter, it's bigger than anything you think of than Cardinals opening day. It is a St. Louis holiday. And
it is a holiday. They're out of school.
It is amazing. It's an absolutely amazing thing, and just to be around downtown St. Louis on that day. But what it really means when you look at the vitality of other businesses around there, from, as you said, the bars, the restaurants, the hotels, and look, Memphis is part of that equation. When you talk about the St. Louis Cardinals, and it's why Memphis is such an important market to St. Louis, for a very, very long time, the St. Louis Cardinals were the team furthest west and the furthest south. And with the power of KMOX and Harry Carey and Jack Buck, if you lived west of the Mississippi, you were a Cardinals fan. If you lived south of St. Louis, you were a Cardinals fan. This is when the Braves didn't exist. The Dodgers weren't in Los Angeles. The Rockies weren't there. The Royals weren't there. If you lived west of Mississippi, you were a Cardinals fan. If you lived south, you were a Cardinals fan. And that is generational. That fandom. It's been broken up over the years, but we feel it here. We see it in St. Louis. That people make that annual pilgrimage to St. Louis. People make the annual pilgrimage down to Memphis. Season ticket holders from St. Louis come down here all the time, and they're staying in hotels. They're eating at restaurants. They're going to do all the things that tourists do when they're in town. So, when you look at what sports means to the local economies, and look, we've seen it with the FedEx Forum, right? What that's brought to downtown, and how it's transformed areas. And between AutoZone Park and the FedEx Forum, the development that still goes on today around these areas, from hotels to buildings, whatever else, it helps energize that. Sports is really sort of the lifeblood of cities. It's that heartbeat. It's that livability index that you hear people talk about. People want to come to cities where there's things to do. And sports is the number one thing around it, because it's the great unifier. It's the thing that brings everybody together, no matter your background, your race, your religion, whatever it is. You're coming to support the home team, and you can follow behind that. So that's I think that's you see that in cities across across the country, but it just can't be, you just can't state it enough of how important it is to, to the vibrancy of a city.
And, pre-pandemic, your neighborhood was one way, and post-pandemic, you've got a new and improved environment there with 2 new hotels, the Hilton Garden Inn across the street, and then the Canopy. My office is not far from there. I'm on Union as well. And, you walk down there, and I can just imagine on game day how activated that whole area is going to be with those outdoor bars and everything else.
Yeah, I can't wait. Really, when you look back over the past, 2 years, since COVID started, 2020, we had one of the very last sporting events in the world here. We had a home soccer match on, I think it was March 9th. It was a Saturday, or March 8th. And we had, close to 10,000 people here. Tim Howard was in goal. And you think back to what downtown was and how vibrant it was on a match day, on a Redbirds, on a Friday night, a Saturday night, and the people around that. Obviously 2020 was just a total disaster, but even last year was slow. You think back last year, sitting here on March 22nd, we weren't close to starting our baseball season. We didn't start till May. The soccer season didn't start till middle of May, and we didn't have our first home game till June. So, even last year we didn't operate, and you still had tourism wasn't quite back to the levels that it was. You had a lot of things that just weren't normal yet. So we're really looking forward to a normal year this year, where we're starting on time. It's our first sort of seasons that are following the regular calendar for the first time since 2019. I mean, it's we're 3 years really going into this, of where we're ready to get sort of back to normal. People get back into routines of like, look, we're going to go out on a Saturday night. We're going to go do things. We're going to go back out and have fun. So we are looking forward to that. There's some great places that have popped up here in the past couple of years, and it's going to be. And I think downtown's really still probably in the infancy of what it's going to probably look like in the next 5 years. I mean, I just look back over the 10 years that I've been down here, coming back and forth. South Main doesn't look anything like it did 10 years ago. Like, not even one little piece of it is recognizable. So that is now sort of coming this direction, and also spreading east from AutoZone Park, with some of the things that are happening sort of in between here and the medical district. I mean, it is, I think we're still in the early stages of stuff, and big things to come.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, you mentioned starting on time. What can folks expect this year at AutoZone Park, part of the fan experience? Are there new things? Are there old classics coming back? What can they expect?
Well, it's going to be a lot of the old classics. Obviously there's, past couple of years, we've been just trying to get our feet underneath us again and sort of kind of reset on stuff. And now it's just going to be kind of going back to the basics, reminding people why you came out here before. So when you look at the baseball season, our world famous fireworks nights will be back. One of our better promotions that we've done the past couple of years is our Throwback Thursdays, where we play as the Memphis Chicks. We have revitalized that brand and brought it back on Thursdays. So we do $2 beers, $1 hot dog nights. You get to come and just have a fun night at the ballpark on a Thursday night. There's some giveaways planned throughout the year this year on Friday. So some of the giveaways are back. We're still running into supply chain issues on some of those, but that we hope will start to free up as we get into the second half of the year. Kids run the bases days on Sundays. Ice cream Sundays are trademarked Nacho Average Tuesday, where everyone who comes to a baseball game on a Tuesday gets a free ballpark nacho. Had a lot of day games this year too. The one thing that we found out a lot too is that people like the day games. We got a lot of Wednesday day games, and the other thing that we're doing very different this year is we've got 2 Saturday day games in April. And that was late last year. We played a Saturday afternoon game it was in late September, and the feedback on it was great. One is the weather in April can be a little up and down. The nights can be chilly, it can be a little rainy, but the days tend to be really good. And we want to just be able to make the best experience possible for people, that if it's, it's a nice afternoon, come out and enjoy it at the ballpark. And you know what, if the night's going to be chilly, no big deal. You can go out to eat, go do your other things, but I think our daytimes here we're trying some different things with Saturdays, and then soccer is hey, it's a Saturday night event, and that's really what it's about. I think if you haven't experienced soccer yet, and what that event is, and the energy that goes with it, and the supporters group of the Bluff City Mafia, it is a sporting event like Memphis hasn't seen before, or in a long time. There was soccer here in the late '70s, early '80s, but the fandom is different there, and there's smoke bombs, there's the singing, the chanting, the drums that are going on. And the other part is just the pace of the game. It's 2 hours. The match starts at 7 o'clock. You are leaving by 9 o'clock. There is no, extra anything in there. It is a 2-hour event. You come, you have fun. It's a big party. So I just invite people to come down and check it out, because it's a much different sports experience than anything else in the city.
The soccer games are great, and they're very well attended.
Yeah, you know what? Soccer, has been very well received here in Memphis. I mean, I think when we did a lot of research before we established the team and brought it here, and created the expansion team, but we knew that there was this fan base, and it just needed an outlet. It needed a place. It was living in the bars on Saturday mornings to go watch Premier League games. There were people traveling around to go see matches at other places. And that's what we found, is that there's 18,000 kids that play soccer within, all of West Tennessee. So there are, families that are built around it, that they're spending their weekends at Bike Rose, and the kids love it. It's a next generation sport, of where kids are involved in it. It's keeping kids active. It's fast paced. They recognize the stars. It's a worldly game, and Memphis is a worldly city. I think that was the other thing that we sort of gravitated to. You have FedEx, St. Jude, International Paper. You have all of these multinational companies that have people that are coming into Memphis all the time from other places in the world. They're bringing employees in here. They're if you're from outside of the United States, soccer is probably your number one sport. It is probably the thing that you follow the most. It's what people don't realize is the number one watched sporting event in the United States, outside of football, is soccer within the Latino community. That is a huge thing for, when you look at sort of those breakdowns of soccer, it's still a hugely watched event within the United States, within segments of the population. And we knew that there were population centers that wanted this, they wanted this sport, they wanted to be around it, and that there was an opportunity for us to capitalize on that. And frankly, a lot of those people, soccer is their number one sport. Obviously we have the advantage to be able to cross-reference that with the Redbirds. And, our first season here, the number of crossover fans was single digit percentages. So bringing in soccer brought in a whole new audience to AutoZone Park that wasn't coming here for any other reason. It was really amazing in 2019. We had to overstaff people at our front gate because people would walk in with their tickets, look at their tickets, look around at the signs, because they had never been inside AutoZone Park before. And that's hard to believe because it was 20 years old, but they were here and baseball wasn't their thing. Soccer was, and that was the outlet that we were able to provide to them. And that was, that was really what we did it for, is we knew that there was this built up appetite for it. And we were ready to just feed those people and say, hey, let's go, let's make a run at this.
From where you sit, what do you think the future of soccer in the United States is?
I think it's just in the infancy. I think of it of Memphis, of this, this burgeoning sport that's ready to explode. And you've seen that over the past 10, 15, 20 years, when you look at what MLS has done, and how that's expanded and brought new things in. You see that St. Louis is getting an MLS team, and it's going to crush in St. Louis. It is going to be amazing in St. Louis. Again, it's when you look at what soccer has been built on, and it's a young person sport. The millennials, kids have been involved in it, playing the game. And as they came up, they've been fans of the game. They're fans of that soccer is a very inclusive sport. It's been built on that. It's the world's game, and you see it, that as we as a society become sort of multicultural and absorb other things, and we start to just be able to go everywhere, and social media has brought that. I think that as we build towards 2026, when the World Cup is going to be in the United States, that's the inflection point. You think about when the World Cup was here in the 90s, that was the start of MLS. That started sort of this rolling of soccer in the communities, and people started getting behind it. I think when you see soccer come here, and that's what we sort of build towards, is building towards 2026, that that's going to be the point where it's going to take off. And because it's going to that will be the biggest event in the United States that year. I mean, you would talk about something on a global stage. The World Cup rivals the Olympics. It rivals any other world event, and the eyeballs will be here. And I think it's going to capture people, because it's going to be in all the cities around us. It's people in Memphis are going to be able to drive places to go see matches, which is before it was in New York, Chicago, LA. There's a distinct possibility there's going to be a World Cup match in Nashville, in Atlanta, in Dallas, in Chicago, places that we're going to, you're going to be able to drive to and experience that. And I, for one, am super excited about it, just from an event standpoint, to have that here in the United States. And as a soccer fan, to be able to experience that, I think it's going to be an amazing point for soccer to just sort of take off within the United States.
Most Americans understand the relationship of the Redbirds to the Cardinals and how those leagues interact with each other. Can you explain how does the different leagues in soccer interrelate to each other, or what does it all mean? Because it's not the same as a farm system, or am I wrong about that?
No, it's very, very different. And when you say that we are minor league soccer around here, those are fighting words to us.
I didn't say that.
No, you did, and I give you credit for that. But we hear that a lot. It's, oh, you're just minor league soccer, and that can't be further from the truth. Is the players that are here are fully professional players. They sign contracts with us. They are paid fully. We are more like the Grizzlies than we are the Redbirds in that world. So we are out signing players, and we are not affiliated with anybody. So the players are under contract with Memphis 901 FC. The world of soccer is a little bit different than other United States sports, from the standpoint that we can, buy players, sell players to other leagues. And by the way, other leagues in the world, there are other teams within USL that this year have sold players to leagues in Spain. They have sold players to England. They have sold players to all sorts of different leagues and countries and teams around the world. So for us, it is that it's, again, when you think about the Redbirds, we don't have any idea who our players are going to be this year. We will not know until that plane lands in Memphis on April 1st. I think the team is coming in. When the guys get off the plane and show up here, we're like, okay, you're playing. And by the way, as I said before, if someone's good, they're not going to be here for long. They're going to get called up. They're going to go to St. Louis. Whereas if we have a player here for soccer and they're good, sure, the opportunity is going to be here for them to help Memphis, but also the opportunity also becomes for us to move them on and sell them and, move them on to another club. It's a little bit, we are in the player development business because the players do want to get to the highest levels of the game. But the difference is we control those rights. USL players, they have their own union. It's just like, the professional baseball players. It's just like the NBA. So we negotiate contracts with them. They are, this is their job. Their job 100% of the time is to be a soccer player. And, that's the difference, is that it's sure. Now, the difference is there's Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IV within, soccer. We call it the pyramid system inside there. Here in the United States, unlike other countries in the world, there's typically promotion and relegation between those divisions. So, in England, which everyone, is familiar with the Premier League, if you're the bottom teams in the Premier League, you get relegated down to the next lower level. So to use that like in basketball or baseball terms, if we'll take the Chicago Bulls, are really, really bad, they would, if they finish in the bottom 2, 3, whatever would be decided, they would get relegated down to the G League, and then the G League team would go up. The same thing with baseball. If the worst MLB teams, the Miami Marlins, get relegated down to AAA, and the AAA team goes up. That's the way the soccer pyramids typically work within Europe and other parts of the world. So, and then by the way, you get promoted as well. The difference in the United States, promotion and relegation is not a factor, but really the difference between MLS and USL is frankly its city size. MLS to be in Division One, you just have to have bigger stadiums, and you just have to be able to support it at a in bigger cities. But the difference, there's really no other difference other than that. If the players are still professional, it's still very high level. Sure, some of our players, will play on national teams for their countries. Within USL, I just saw this morning, I think there's 6 or 7 players that will be playing for their countries during World Cup qualifiers over the next couple of days, or I guess next week, whenever the final rounds of the World Cup qualifiers are. So the players that are here are national team type players that are representing their countries. We're signing international players. We have a player from Brazil. We have players from, England. We have players from all over the world that are coming here to play soccer in the United States. And you look at the other cool thing about soccer is, we play in the Open Cup. And the Open Cup is this giant tournament that goes over every professional team and some amateur teams throughout the entire United States. A couple of years ago, 2019, we got a chance to play an MLS team. And because we advanced in that tournament to play an MLS team, we played Orlando City. We gave them a pretty good game. And a few years ago, there was USL teams that went to the quarterfinals, semifinals. The Charleston Battery, which is in USL, actually went to the finals a number of years ago. So the USL, ecosystem in this world of Division II soccer is highly competitive. Very good teams, very good players that play in it, and it is, as I said, it is not minor league soccer. It is very different. It is a fully professional team that is about signing players, quality players, and providing we want to win. That's the ultimate goal within USL. That's where I said earlier is that for soccer, it is about wins and losses. Look, when we lose games and we don't play well, I hear about it. My Twitter blows up, and the supporters are on me, and they want changes, they want better players, they want to change in the lineup, or whatever it is. But that's the passion of the fan base. They know what this is. So it's very, very different than baseball. It was a hard sort of flip of the hat to understand that it's two totally different mindsets that I have to be in, when we're talking about the two different sports.
Yeah, I've always said that soccer internationally is much more American in its governance than many American leagues. I think particularly about college football. A lot of people have said we ought to go to the relegation and promotion system in football because there's such a gulf between the top 30 teams and everybody else, whereas you've got everybody else kind of mixed into those leagues with those dominant teams. And there's just something kind of egalitarian about a system that allows teams from different leagues to compete in the same game, in the same tournament, and let the best team win.
Yeah, look, I think we have a 5th division team in England, Dagenham and Redbridge, and you say 5th tiers. There's like 12 tiers of soccer within England. So being in 5th tier you're like, wow, that's like really far down. Again, it's fully professional. The players that are going there, you go, Premier League, which everyone knows, there's Championship, League One, League Two, National League, which is what we are in. But you can look at teams in the history there of where, Dagenham and Redbridge, which we have, was as high as League One, which was 3rd tier, probably about 10 years ago. fell on some hard times and it fell down, and we took over about 4 or 5 years ago. But that's the goal is, and it's possible. You can get promoted, and you can grow, and you can win your way to playing with the big boys. And where you can be in the Premier League. It sounds like crazy talk, but that's what it is. It's really amazing. And by the way, the opposite side of it is if your team is not very good, the other part is that you support your team when they're not very good because you don't want to go down. You want to stay in the league that you're at. Your fandom comes out. You may be really upset that your team's not very good, but you continue to support them and go out to cheer them on because you don't want them to get relegated, to go down to the next league, because that's like the ultimate insult, right? It's a fascinating world and culture of what soccer is and what the sport is around the world. Again, we're intimately involved in England, and the ups and downs that go with it, and the heartache that goes when you get relegated down to the lower level, but the joy of when you get promoted up, it's something special. I know USL has talked about this for a long time. USL is pro promotion and relegation. Like, we want it, and as a team in it, we welcome it. We want to see that within US soccer. We've experienced it and know what it is. Look, there's just millions and billions of dollars at stake within, sort of the other stuff. But I think, USL's talked a lot about it. And I think it's something that, is on the radar screen, is even within USL. Is there an opportunity for us to create promotion and relegation within our own league, with our own ecosystem, just to introduce the concept to the United States? I think people would find it fascinating.
I do too. And it almost is, it's almost like a sports version of a slide rule. It just really expands the as you say, expands your opportunity for fandom, because now you're talking about long-term issues as well as, did we win last night? Are we going to win tomorrow? That sort of thing. Yeah,
because look, the ramifications that if you are in, again, I'll use the NBA as the example, that you're in the NBA today, and if your team doesn't do well, you go down to the G League, and all of a sudden you're not on TV as much, and you don't have the opportunity at the best players. I'm not saying promotion relegation is coming to the NBA by any stretch of the imagination, but that is, for people to understand sort of the impact of what promotion and relegation means. It changes everything. It changes how you run your club. It changes the staffing levels. It changes everything about what, and again, of the investment to be able to go is like, look, because once you go down, you're not satisfied. You want to go back up, so being able, and if you're a player, there's a mindset change, right? You want to be on the highest levels. And so it's again, having lived it and spent some time in England, sort of around fans and around people and talking about it, it is all they can talk about. It's, they talk about the teams that get the chance to go up and the elation that is, and the teams that go down, of the heartache and the heartbreak that brings. Because, I guess when you talk about what soccer is, sort of around the world, and I try and describe this to people, it is taking the fandom that, we have in the United States and wrapping up your fandom for, the Grizzlies, U of M, and, I don't know what else to wrap into it, but all into one. Because in England and most of the countries, throughout Europe, there are no other sports. There's in England, there's nothing. You got cricket, and a few other things, but it is Saturdays. That is, the world stops for 2 hours every Saturday afternoon at 3:00, and because every town, every city in the country has a football team that's playing. You wrap up that love that people have for all of the different sports that we follow, wrap it all together in a ball, and they follow one thing. And that's really the case when you look around the world too. Italy, Germany, France, soccer, is the sport that they live and die by. South America, I mean, that's it. Mexico, it's really, that's the end all be all. And it's really amazing to go, see matches in other parts of the world and experience that. But it's really hard to explain what that fandom means.
Do you foresee a time when a large percentage of the best athletes in the United States choose soccer as opposed to basketball? I had a conversation, basketball or football or whatever, because, can you imagine if Kobe Bryant had been a professional soccer player, or LeBron James or Deion Sanders, or, you just go think about our top athletes. And, right now, I think you got to say that the top athletes aren't going into soccer, not to take anything away from any current soccer players, but do you see a time when that might happen, or am I wrong about that?
Well, I think sort of looking at it from a sort of a revisionist history sort of standpoint of that, if our best athletes would play the game, look, I think there's very few athletes when you look at over time that, outside of a Bo Jackson and a few people that were able to excel at multiple sports. I think that the challenge is that we need to provide, as soccer teams, as communities, we need to provide more opportunities for everyone to play soccer. I think the biggest difference is I think that, sure, there might be some athletes out there that maybe or maybe not playing a professional sport someplace else. But I think that there's untapped potential in the athletes that are out there, where there just hasn't been enough development. There hasn't been enough opportunity for them to play soccer, to develop those skills, to be a part of it. There's been a limited number of professional opportunities. I mean, really go back of, 20 years ago, if you were a professional soccer player, you were playing indoor or you were going overseas. That was it. There really weren't opportunities within the United States. And so to be discovered, to recognize skills at a young age. I mean, look, let's be serious. In the baseball, in the basketball world, in the football world, they are discovering players at the high school level. And in some cases, it's maybe a little bit younger than that, but not really. But the high school level is when you are identifying players. That is something that we've started doing here. You look at, we have 6 Memphians that are on Memphis 901 FC on academy contracts. They are high school students. Their friends are coming here to the games and seeing them. They're playing in games. They're on TV, and giving them those opportunities to develop and be a part of a professional world at a much younger age is the first step in that. The other step in that is, look, around the world, soccer is the poor man's game. You don't need anything. You need a ball and you need your feet. And in some countries, it's like they take T-shirts and tie them together to make a ball to play. They play on any field that they can find, any piece of open space that they can find. They're playing in parking lots. They're playing on beaches. They're playing on any piece of open land. Only in the United States do we need to have a perfectly manicured pitch. Do we have to have 4 uniforms and backpacks and all this other stuff where and look, my kids all play club soccer and they're in this world, so I'm not belittling it, but the culture has become that the only way you can get involved is you play and you pay a bunch of money to be able to do it. I think that we need to spend more time introducing the game at the grade school level, giving opportunities for kids to play. I am not a one sport person. I think that kids should be playing multiple sports, should be doing multiple things. You should be playing soccer. You should be playing basketball. You should be playing football. You should be playing baseball. You should be doing all of those things. Number one, it's a lot more healthy for you and your body to develop the right way, that if you're just using the certain muscles over and over and over, especially as a kid, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have a whole bunch of issues. That's all science. That's fact. That's documentation of that kids need breaks. They need to cycle through things. So, but it's more of, we got to give those opportunities. We need to do that. I know the city, just announced, yesterday that I forget where it is, because I wasn't ready to talk about this exactly, but they're building 2 soccer fields at one of the community centers someplace. That's great to see, because one is, we can help provide some programming in there. We can help, with those things. And that's something that, Nick Walker and I have talked about. Nick runs the parks for the city, for the Strickland administration. We spend a lot of time talking to them about, providing those opportunities and how do we get more kids playing? And it doesn't have to be highly competitive. It just needs to be, get them out there with the ball, let them develop the skills. And now that they've got an opportunity to have professional engagement within the community here from a professional soccer team, now they see this pathway. They start to see that there's opportunities that soccer can bring to them. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think that there are, soccer players that are amongst us that are probably really good, but there's been a ceiling. There just hasn't been ability for them to develop their skills beyond, maybe grade school or high school, because there hasn't been a lot of opportunities beyond that. I think that as soccer from a professional level grows, that, we as professional clubs are investing sort of from the top down to identifying kids, identifying young talent that, look, not all of them are going to play professional, not all of them are going to do that, but to give them opportunities to develop their skills and develop into better soccer players. Ultimately, they might be a basketball player, a baseball player, a football player, but I think there's to me, it's more about opportunity. We are not giving enough opportunities to young athletes to play soccer. We're not giving, and by the way, that goes for baseball as well too. That's not where baseball is. You got to have equipment, you got to have bats, you got to have gloves. These things cost money, and you go out to Dick's Sporting Goods, you go to Academy. Bats are expensive. They're $100 a piece. That's a big barrier to entry for someone who wants to play baseball. We have to do more things to just get kids involved in bat and ball and soccer ball and make it fun and just get them interested in the game. And then kids' natural tendencies will be to gravitate towards the things that they're good at and they're interested in. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that. Communities have done a great job over the years of putting basketball hoops up in parks and stuff. And, one thing is being able to look at basketball hoops. We've seen a lot of, Atlanta's done a great job of this, of taking the basketball areas and putting little futsal goals underneath the hoops, where, futsal is typically played in a lot of places throughout the United States on basketball courts. It has a very, those dimensions are pretty similar. So to get, dual purpose areas that allow for soccer to go on, to, build fields in other places that are non-traditional, to allow, and then create the programming that allows for kids to take part in it. So I'm passionate about that, because I think that, that's really I think that when you see where the better athletes have come from, it's come from opportunity. It's come from that they were given opportunities in their lives to do those sports. They picked them up at an early age. They latched onto it and they were great and could take off with it. We just have to provide more opportunities. It's something from the soccer side and frankly, the baseball side that, soccer's growing in that. Baseball's waned off, and we have to sort of revitalize that. Soccer, we just have to keep building. We have to keep building those opportunities and provide more opportunities for kids to do a lot more.
Baseball, once upon a time, was an urban sport, and now it's really kind of become a suburban sport because of what you're saying. And I think, and you make a great point. In America, we think, well, if you're going to play, you've got to have a beautiful field, and you got to have all the right equipment. I remember my dad talking, and my dad talks all the time about his brothers and cousins would go out into a sand lot and they play ball, and they might have they may not have a bat. They may have a stick or whatever. And I think as a society, we've kind of gotten away. You don't see kids playing in sand lots and that sort of thing. At least I don't, like you used to. You do see kids in parks playing basketball and playing organized soccer or football or whatever, but not a whole lot of pickup games in some of those other sports.
No, and I think, again, I grew up with that. I'm old. It was, we had a wiffle ball bat and a tennis ball at our house. We had an old garage in the back, and there were some power lines on the street behind us. And if you could hit it over the power lines, you got this, and you hit it over this, you got this. And I can't tell you how many windows we broke because our backstop was the house, and an errant foul ball or something goes through a window. We'd play bounce baseballs off the wall. We painted a soccer goal in our basement on a wall, and we go down there and take shots and break the light bulbs in the basement. You'd play on a street behind your house, soccer and baseball and hockey. I mean, anything that we could get our hands on, you would go and do it. And you're right. I understand that culture. We're not going to go back to quote the good old days, right? It's just not going to happen of that. There's too many other things for kids to do of video games and other stuff that they have. But I think the difference there, though, is one area that I think we can make an impact in is schools, is providing opportunities through schools for kids to be involved in stuff. I mean, the days of a lot of schools, there's PE is very limited. The sports programs that are offered through schools are very limited. And then, by the way, is like after school, when the sports can take place, when you can create some programming and do some things around it, that keeps the kids at school doing things until mom, dad get back from work, that they can pick them up, go home. That keeps them off from doing other stuff from 3 to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. So I think the opportunities that are there is to keep them occupied, to do some things, provide that post school type of stuff, and do it within sort of the the school framework, or again the community framework, where you look at these community centers where, and again, the Boys and Girls Club have done great things around that. We've talked to them over the years about stuff, and they run their after school programs, as does the YMCA and other places, is to provide opportunities through them to get kids to play soccer, to get them to play baseball, to get them to play sports, because that's where it's born at. It's born in the fun. It's born really out of those pickup games, out of those things that you're doing just with your friends and your fun. The organized stuff is great, but to me, that's, we got to get them at, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old to get them involved in some of those things that gives them a little bit more, opportunities and things to try it out. And then they have to be able to have those opportunities to build upon that. But I think, schools, community centers, those types of things, it becomes something that the communities can rally around and support. I think that's where the real opportunity is versus, look, if they're great, they're going to get the opportunities to go and play organized stuff someplace. They can go in and do that. But that's typically when you're, gets super competitive at the club levels, when you get into the teens, 12, 13, 14-year-old and older. When you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, it's about going out and having fun. It's, you might have a whole bunch of different teams, and, there's kids that are out there because they truly love it. There's other kids that are just, they're trying to figure out what they want to do. So, I think it's opportunity.
Well, Craig, I sure appreciate your time. I could go on talking about sports for a long time. And as a 56-year-old American, I'm fascinated by soccer. Every time I go to a 901 FC game or watch one on television, I'm always, frankly, a little surprised how much I enjoy it, because I don't understand it nearly as well as I understand some sports. But it's a gorgeous sport to watch when played well. And y'all have got a great product down there. And then a little closer to my heart, take me out to the ball game. I'm looking forward to April 5th and walking down to AutoZone Park, and you'll probably see me at some of those day games on Wednesdays. Just don't tell my law partners if that's where I am. Well, Craig, I appreciate anything else you'd like to say about either the Redbirds or 901 FC before I let you go?
No, I just, I think the only thing is we just, we look forward to welcoming people back. We know it's been a long 2 years, and for some people, we had a complete loss here in 2020. Last year, we had a lot of ups and downs throughout the year, right? I mean, we had a big COVID spike in, late July into August, and, start of school was rough. We know people have been through a lot, and what we want them to do is, know the numbers are great now, and, we're maybe on the backside of this, which is great, is, we're ready to welcome people back. Let's bring back the traditions that, that we had before, and, come back down, enjoy a night out. We've got two opposite ends, right? It's what you said, the nice, relaxing sport of baseball. It's the social experience, grab the hot dog, the beer, bring the kids out. It's a fun night. And if you want a little bit, more kind of in your face and energy, come out to a soccer game and, kind of experience that. So we're looking forward to welcoming people back. That's why we do what we do. It's about entertaining people. So that's what I just can't wait to see people again this year.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much, Craig. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I know that you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, please share us on social media, comment on us, let us know what you thought. Send it to somebody you think may benefit from it. And Craig is going to go and entertain Memphis, and I'm going to go get some justice. So thank you all very much.